Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB throughout the championship meet. The Gulfstream Park Championship meet runs now through the early April Florida Derby weekend, featuring high-quality racing throughout. Once again, we'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship. Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Yes, I am Seth Merrow, and this is Racing Across America. As usual on a Sunday morning, we'll recap some of the action from yesterday. And that was highlighted by the Pegasus card. Also had the Southwest over at Oaklawn and Toboggan in New York, but Pegasus Day at Gulfstream, big card of some stakes action. So I thought, who better to give us the boots on the ground analysis straight from Gulfstream Park. Was there all week with his radio show, his Sirius XM radio show, our friend Steve Byk. Steve, good morning.
Here I am, bootsy on the ground.
And you said, when we came on here, you said you're on the beach this morning. Already I'm envious.
I am on the beach. It's a little windy. Not ideal, but I'll take it and hopefully get a nice few days in here all this next week. Because don't forget, Saturday, the Holy Bull. Now that Pegasus is out of the way, it's time to start building toward the Florida Derby and the Fountain of Youth, and that starts Saturday with the Holy Bull.
Oh, so you're sticking around this week too?
You're damn right I am. You think I'm coming back there?
I don't blame you. Although, can't complain about the winter up here too much, but I'd much rather be there. We're headed down for the Florida Derby, so I'm looking forward to that. And as I said, you were there all week, and I was talking to you off the air, and I said I pulled up some pictures from your Twitter feed from earlier in the week because you were at the Eclipse Awards and have Todd Pletcher, Vinny Viola, and Louis Lazzanero, have a picture of Flavien Prat and Jay Privman. Jay, of course, retired this year, but was honored with the special eclipse a few nights ago. Marty McGee and his girlfriend as well. Always great to see Marty. The Eclipse Awards, a horse racing related event I have never attended. I'm just curious what it was like. Normally I'll watch online, and the other night I was running around and I didn't get a chance. Anything notable at the ceremony the other night?
Well, the most notable element I thought was the fact that they brought it up to the breakers in West Palm Beach, and that really contributed to the atmosphere. The breakers, of course, is one of the most elegant and lovely facilities of its kind anywhere, not just in Florida. And people, I think people right away were taken with the atmosphere. I've only been to a couple of Eclipse Award ceremonies. That was top notch, and over 500 people. They had a capacity crowd, and it was very nicely done. It was executed smoothly. There wasn't any of the glitches that sometimes dog the event. And you had Scott Hazelton and Maggie Wolfendale and Brittany Urton, and also Kaiten Bradar. She was doing the voiceover. They did a great job. And, I guess the most notable element would be probably Mike Rapoli, who certainly loves going up on those stages and getting a handle on the microphone. But it was actually a nice evening that everybody enjoyed. David Harrison, he got his Eclipse as Horse Player of the Year for the win in the NHC. It was great. Jay gave the most gracious speech. I thought, talking about his career, it was a really lovely evening.
Yeah, I gotta see if I can find Jay online. I was kind of looking forward to that, and so I want to see if I can find his acceptance.
Yeah, it's all on the NTRA's YouTube page.
Yeah, I got to pull that up. Anything notable otherwise? I talked a little bit about the results yesterday. I mean, there was a lot of categories where there were slam dunks, certainly on the 2-year-old side. I was looking forward just to see the vote total the day after on the 3-year-olds, because I wondered how close Taba would get with the late season Grade 1. That wasn't particularly close. Flightline, obviously a slam dunk horse of the year. A little notable that some of the voters went in other directions there, a relatively few. The trainer category was kind of fun and interesting. I had Warlike Goddess on top on the female turf, but I knew I was on the outside looking in there. But otherwise, I think it played out pretty predictably.
Well, the trainer vote was the closest
Yeah.
of all, and that's figured. And it really could have gone either way. And I suppose if not for some extraneous and off the oval elements, Chad Brown probably wins that vote many years. But Todd had a fabulous year. And when it came down to the champions, Todd had Malathat, he had Ness, and he had Forte. And that kind of tips the scales. Chad having Goodnight Olive and Regal Glory, and those two champions are not. I think that's the difference. That's what the difference was for me when it came down to my own vote. Was that Todd? He also had Life Is Good, who was runner-up in Horse of the Year and in older male. I think that he had just enough of the cumulative elements to tip the scales. He's absolutely very deserving. I was slightly surprised that was Todd's first eclipse since 2014. That surprised me. I sort of lost track of that. There's never anybody that isn't deserving. There is some hair splitting that can be done. One of my great frustrations comes in the breeder category.
Yeah.
I talk about this every year. The voters do not have to just acquiesce to the entity that has the sheer volume. Godolphin as owner, they won 16 Great Ones or whatever the hell they won. They aren't necessarily the breeder of the year, though. The breeder of the year, Jane Lyon, I was delighted that Summer Wind, that she was acknowledged as a finalist. But you can vote for someone like a Jane Lyon when she breeds the Belmont winner and Flightline and 3 or 4 other nice stake horses. I don't get it. I don't know why people don't drill down and understand that operations that have, in this case, 16 broodmares, and they produce elite runners every year from that small base, those people deserve to be acknowledged by the industry. And I'm always whistling in the dark on this topic.
And another one that I thought, as I looked at my ballot this year, Caravel and Elizabeth Merriman to be a small breeder and wind up with a nice Breeders' Cup winner. I think that's notable too. So I'm with you. That category is kind of funny in that fashion.
Yeah, it's always been that way, and it's funny because I have voted for different kinds of people. Charlotte Weber, there was a couple of years ago when she had world approval and she had 3 other stake winners. Charlotte Weber could have been acknowledged. Live Oak Plantation as the breeder of the year. How is it that we've never given Fred Hertrick and John Fielding? How have we never given them an Eclipse Award? Every year they've got, they probably have 30, 40 broodmares, so they're a fairly sizable commercial operation, but they produce a half a dozen stake winners every year, and they've been finalists a couple of times, but those are the kinds of people that are really deserving of Eclipse Awards, and we have to think outside the cumulative total, the dollars and the win totals based on volume. Because if you keep doing that, nobody worthy that operates on a smaller scale is ever going to be appreciated. It's a small thing, Seth, but it's one of the things the industry gets wrong regularly.
And I do at least like to see, like Summerwind this year, acknowledged as a finalist. So at least you get some recognition and you get to the awards and whatnot. So there is a little bit of a bonus there.
Well, let's stretch this out a little bit. Go back to the trainer for a minute. Yes, Todd and Chad were going to be 1-2 no matter what. Steve Asmussen did not have a good year. He had a bad year. And for Bill Mott, I mean, there were two other individuals that should have been the third finalist, either Bill Mott or John Sadler. And for me, Bill Mott was the guy. I mean, Mott had horses all over the ballot. Elite Power. You voted for Elite Power wins Sprinter. Casa Creed could have been a finalist. You voted for Warlike Goddess, who was very worthy. And there's others I'm not even thinking of. Bill Mott should have been the third finalist. Steve Asmussen may have been third in dollar volume and in number of winners, but frankly, the winners at Retama and at Lone Star and at the far-flung places that he's operating on a smaller level. Yes, he operates at the highest level, but stop being overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. Understand who had a good year and deserves to be acknowledged.
Yeah, I put Bill Mott third for just what you're saying. I think it's worth making that finalist and getting acknowledged for that. I put John Velasquez third in the jockey category. I thought, at his stage of the career, he's still riding very well. So I try to use those bottom couple of votes to do something like that, acknowledge some folks who maybe would deserve to at least get to the awards ceremony, certainly. All right, let's shift attention to yesterday. Gulfstream Park, Pegasus Day, just watching the simulcast signal here. It looked like, and I'll have you just give us a little overview of the day. It looked like big crowd on the apron and certainly looked like a very nice day as well. Again, just overview things for yesterday. Oh, and we also, I pulled up a shot. I pulled up that screen grab. I think I sent it to you early on. A little Byk in the paddock front and center. So talk about the day a little bit.
I didn't know that. That was my first opportunity to attend one of these days because typically for the last several years it's the same weekend as the NHC.
Oh right.
So I haven't. Yeah. So I had never been to one. I've been to plenty of Don handicaps years ago. I mean, as a big early season Saturday, it's terrific. You had a great atmosphere. They put on a nice show. It's kind of overdone in terms of what they're charging people to come in the gate. But it certainly delivered what the way they bill it. They want it to be. They want it to be kind of a spectacle day, and it's not. Is it Breeders' Cup? Is it Derby? Is it Preakness? Is it Belmont? Is it Travers Day? No, but it was a good race day, a good 13 race card, some competitive racing, some betting opportunities. The food was good. I mean, those kinds of things that was very nice. It's a nice early season day that. Sort of kind of gets us rolling onto, the new year, considering that Eclipse Awards is sort of the last thing from the year before. So, consider the year kicked off.
Yeah, and it certainly was a nice betting card, nice full feel. It's one of those you always rate how many pages it takes you to print up a program, and it was 51 yesterday. For the Daily Racing Form PP. So it was a nice card, certainly. And let's kick things off. We'll take a look at the entire Pegasus World Cup Invitational here. You and I were talking before we went on the air. Hard for me to pull the trigger, but it's Bill Mott. So easy to root for Bill, certainly. But Art Collector, fun horse. I'd like to own the horse, but you look down the resume, really the notable victories are the back-to-back wins in the Charlestown Classic. So I did not use them. I went for Cyberknife although I was a little concerned about the post position. But whenever I go zig or zag on the post position question, I'm typically wrong. And Cyberknife, unfortunately, the number 10 horse, as we watch the results here, the 2-1 favorite, is going to wind up 6th. Art Collector is the number 6 horse as you watch the race go around. Defunded will hold on for second. He's the number 5, and Stiletto Boy, the number 11, at 45-1, holding on for third. 107 buyer for Art Collector. So again, it was a nice performance, but it was hard to come up for me.
Yeah, I didn't have him high on the priority list of potential winners. One thing is very notable. If you look at this race, at the charts at previous winners, and this was just a nice field of handicap horses. We didn't necessarily have the gun runners, the Arrogates, that kind of a field. So you kind of wanted to go find somebody different, and you wanted to find a price, because certainly Cyberknife was absolutely going to be compromised. Anything from outside the 8 path, going the mile in the 8 with the short run to that turn, is completely compromised.
Yeah. Yes,
Gun Runner won from the 10 hole the year that he won. And Cyberknife, the son of Gun Runner. Defunded ran what many years would be a winning race. He basically was second the entire way around, and then gets overwhelmed by Art Collector. Very good ride by Junior Alvarado. All credit to Bill Mott for having this horse ready for his final career start. All of the attention really was on Cyberknife for his final career start before going to Spendthrift. But here's Art Collector in his final start going to Claiborne. Bruce Lunsford, you talk about, veteran owners, and probably forgotten that it was Bruce Lunsford who narrowly was beaten by Mitch McConnell for Kentucky Senate. The last, when McConnell became a senator, it was Bruce Lunsford that came closest to beating him. Bruce had First Samurai with Lansden Robbins. Now he's got another stallion going to Claiborne. Bruce is a terrific owner. Delighted for him. The rest of that field, there's no excuse for a lot of horses. The biggest disappointment, even more, I think, than Cyberknife, Saffie Joseph's horses were supposed to come in here and run well. And both White Barrio and Skippy Longstocking looked like absolute, must-use or horses that you had to take very seriously, and they stunk. And so did even O'Connor. O'Connor didn't run. That's 2 in a row. He was supposed to run well in the Harless Holiday and did not. Cyberknife, Florent Giroux told Joe Hardoon that he just had no horse on the backstretch when he normally would ask Cyberknife for his run. He said he was completely empty, and that's actually an interesting topic to go forward with, which is they sent him to Spendthrift after the Breeders' Cup Mile. They sent him to Spendthrift, where he essentially had to have the air let out of him a little bit to be on display for breeders. And then they resumed his training. And you do wonder if that is a factor remember this going forward for horses. There's some horses that they're going to go on and run in Dubai and such, and I guess in Saudi Arabia, so they don't come out of training. He basically was out of training for a couple of weeks away from the racetrack. And I do, that's in the back of my mind, that he was empty when they normally would have a lot of horse. Physically, he looked fabulous. I mean, he looked absolutely tremendous. So the Cyberknife question, I left the building yesterday with Al Gold. Al was a little frustrated and a little bewildered, frankly, by the effort. But he's got Instant Coffee and Slip Mahoney as top 3-year-olds going forward this year, so he may be back to the Derby again. Who else? Simplification. I was trying to get Simplification in. Get Her Number. I tried to play with Get Her Number. I thought that he would have some tactical speed coming off sprints, but he didn't. So Art Collector was ready, and he wins.
Yeah, and you mentioned White Abarrio and Skippy Longstocking. Skippy Longstocking runs 7th, White Abarrio 8th, and with that 4-for-4 record at Gulfstream, I had White Abarrio firmly in the mix, and as you say, a little disappointing there. Interesting that you might be onto something with Cyberknife. That is interesting. But our collector, the 107 buyer, ties the lifetime best. He got that couple of seasons back in winning the Woodward, so he tied the 107 lifetime best buyer number. But another reason our collector was a little bit iffy for me, they missed the Cigar Mile with an issue, and then I don't think it was an issue. I think they just elected to bypass the Harlan's Holiday because they had talked about using that as a prep. So came in, off the layup and having missed some, but it was a nice performance yesterday, and Bill Mott does it again. All right, let's go one race earlier and take a look at the Pegasus World Cup Turf. Again, we'll pick it up out of the gate here. The winner is going to be number 3, Atone. Nice day for Mike Maker. Nice day for Irod Ortiz, highlighted by this win. Atone, the number 3 horse. Ivar, the number 10. Ivar, certainly on the buyer numbers, looked like a logical favorite, but I think the betting public was a lot like me. I had Ivar down in the 3rd spot because just isn't a win machine by any means. Running 3rd is going to be number 7, Speaking Scout. Lady Spitespear runs 4th, but it is Atone, as they say, on a nice day for Mike Maker and Irod Ortiz. What were your thoughts in the turf?
Well, this race lost some of its luster when Colonel Liam couldn't participate and had to be retired, and he's going to stay in stud at Ocala stud. So this was kind of a hodgepodge of horses. I mean, when you have a horse like Atone, who absolutely had to be seriously considered. I mean, I think I picked him 3rd. I was trying to make wit. I was looking for one of these new 4-year-olds. I tried to play with wit at what I thought would be a good number, and he attended the pace for a while. This was, I don't know. This was just kind of a solid enough turf race. I mean, Atone, that's his first big win at what, age 5, age 6. Lady Spitespear, she ran a courageous race. We had talked about Speaking Scout. I thought Graham Motion had those 2 horses, that Hurricane, the first North America runner, and those 2 had been working up at Palm Meadows. They had a very notable 58 flat work up at Palm Meadows inside the dogs that sort of caught attention. It was one of those races where you had to respect horses like Ivar and Atone, and then you tried to mix in some prices, and you had to get a little bit lucky. But what? The top pair were both 7-2,
yeah.
So nobody got rich.
The flip side of that, City Man, the 7-2 favorite, winds up last in the field of 12, and I thought Decorated Invader stood a little bit of a chance. He was next to last. They were 11th and 12th, so that's a kind of notable as well, those 2 running as poorly as they did.
Yeah, I mean, the outside post for City Man, I think everybody acknowledged was going to be up against it from the 12th hole. I know, Ivar struck the front. About 150 yards out. I thought Ivar was going to get home, and then Atone. Irad Ortiz there's Irad and there's everybody else. Honestly, he's just unbelievable, and he timed that ride perfectly. Was kind of rooting for Ivar because Paulo Lobo lost his mother last week at 86, home in Brazil, and so we kind of had Paulo on our minds.
Atone with a 103 buyer for the win in the turf. A little bit earlier, the Philly and Mayor turf. We'll take a look at that as well. It's going to be number 6, Queen Goddess for Mike McCarthy. Luis Saez on board. Queen Goddess, the number 6 horse. I like Shanasara in here from Chad Brown, but that one will wind up second. It's the 5-2 second choice. The favorite was Wakanaka at 2-1. That one winds up 5th. But Queen Goddess in the Philly and Mayor turf gets it done, as I say, under Luis Saez. Coming in from Southern California to score. Your thoughts in the Philly and Mayor turf?
Well, I like the Queen Goddess coming into this, and Shantasara kind of arrived late on the scene. I have no idea why Wakanaka was bet as heavily as she was. And frankly, if Bill Mott doesn't win the feature, it would have been a pretty disastrous day because obligatory was awful, and the firster that he ran for Lee Einsteidler in the second race really didn't run at all. So Mott was having a rough afternoon until Art Collector's win. Shatasara, I thought was important just because she was probably a horse some people leaned on in the coast to coast with the two races from Santa Anita. And so her not winning, you have to go a little deeper. I used Shatasara and Queen Goddess in that leg. It wouldn't have mattered because Art Collector was nowhere on my tickets. This Queen Goddess is very nice, and she felt like a horse in a good spot. Michael W. McCarthy is very, very sharp when it comes to placement. And this was a nice win for Eclipse Thoroughbreds, who, of course, Aaron Wellman and his team up on the stage with Nest on Thursday night, getting the 3-year-old championship. So I enjoyed that race. That was actually one of the better opinions I had all day.
Yeah, Aaron Wellman quoted in the Racing Form follow-up article as saying it was quite a week. And it was, you get an Eclipse on Thursday, you win a big race like this on Saturday. That is quite a week for when you have one of those partnership groups out there. Also interesting was the Hooper, and we're going to watch Endorsed win here again as another win on the day for Mike Maker. Luis Saez was in the saddle. Endorsed gets it done, the number 9 horse. Chart margin about 3 lengths. Octane by a nose over Dean Delivers. I thought Prevalence was interesting at 9-1, and at the top of the stretch, number 12 Prevalence was a little intriguing, but got swallowed up and wound up running 5th. But Endorsed gets it done, and I think for a lot of people, they may not remember this. It may not be notable to them because it's currently, I'm just checking, it's off the page here on the PPs. But going back to the summer of 2021, Endorsed was a $100,000 claim by Mike Maker and company here, right at Saratoga, August of 2021, claimed away from Bill Mott and Godolphin. And so you don't see many folks dipping in for $100,000 into a claiming race, but it eventually paid off for Endorsed, getting it done yesterday in the Hooper. Your thoughts?
Well, this is the Mike Baker. This is the wheelhouse for him.
Yeah.
Those high price claims, and he's got several owners that operate in that realm. 62.5, 75,000, 80,000, 100,000, and he does very well with them. Frankly, he does better with them like a tone, like on the grass. But this was always a horse with some talent. I sat with Sid Fernando and with Barry Spears yesterday. Barry loved Endorsed in this spot, and he had a very viable angle. He said, they wanted to run Endorsed in the feature. They wanted to run in the Pegasus.
Yeah.
And this was their backup plan, and that is a notable way to approach a horse like this. This was a horse that would have been probably 15-1 in the feature. So why is he not viable against this sort of ordinary group? Miles D on the return was vulnerable and did not run a step, and so that was a spot where you could make some money. And if you played Endorsed through the multi race, you probably did very well. That put a nice charge into the multi race exotics.
Yeah, no question about it. You got $11.80 there. And I was not using Miles D, but I didn't use Endorsed either, unfortunately, in that race. Race earlier, the McKnight. We're going to watch number 11, Red Knight, get it done. I liked Value Engineering in here at 10-1. Wind up coming up a little bit short and running second. Number 12.
Ran very well.
Yeah, Wicked Fast runs third. Shoddy, fourth in here. But again, continuing what was a nice day for Mike Maker and Irad Ortiz back on board here. Red Knight gets it done in the McKnight. Your thoughts there?
Well, Red Knight made plenty of sense. And if Red Knight is in the, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hole, he's a horse that you use very prominently. I shuffled him down just because of the ground loss. you don't want to lose too much ground. As it is, the dogs were up. They were out in the middle of that turf course. So I don't know. I thought you had to respect him, but the rest of the horses underneath him, if like you, Seth, I mean, if you had value engineering and you bet him, in a key spot, you could have done very well because other than Red Knight, I mean, the rest of the favorites were nowhere.
Yeah, I had it value engineering over Red Knight, so they were flip-flop for me for the exacta for a couple of bucks was 66. So that was a decent.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was a decent result on the day. I was happy there. Let's go back and look at the inside information because we've kind of alluded to this already earlier. And I talked about it when I did the handicapping show yesterday morning, and I said, man, I looked to beat Obligatory, but I just couldn't find any direction to go. I thought she probably would outclass this bunch, but I wanted to go against her. And I had Mary Quite Contrary underneath, and she is turning out to be a really nice runner. This was career victory number 6 for her. In career start number 7, Mary Quite Contrary. Chart margin is going to be 2.5. Colorful Mischief second. Fire on Time third. And favored 4 to 5 favored Obligatory winds up a very disappointing 6th. Your thoughts in the inside information?
Well, on a day like this, where a lot of big outfits are going to dominate the entry box, very pleased that a guy like Joe Catanese and Luca Panici get themselves a great at stake win. And this really is a lovely filly for Joe Catanese. And she's one of these South Florida. This is like a Princess Rooney kind of a filly that, is a Calder. If Calder was still operating, this would be a Calder horse. And she's tough. Very, very credible performance. You mentioned Colorful Mischief. That's who I tried to play with as the price. Those were the 3 horses to use: Obligatory, Colorful Mischief, and Mary Quite Contrary. And then it became obvious, both in this race and then later with Miles D. If you were, this is never a racetrack where you're going to be 8 or 10 lengths out of it. I mean, you can forget it. You're not coming from a dozen lengths behind. That's just the reality at that place almost all the time. So this was a nice win. There were a couple of nice local winners on the day. Early on the card, how about Mohammed Mubarak on the comeback trail? He's only got a handful of horses, and he had a nice win. I think that was in the 3rd race. It looks like he's got himself a potential stake horse. Gustavo Delgado with Mage, the maiden, the first-time starter, 89 buyer for that Good Magic colt in his debut. So there were some good, non-high-profile winners on the day.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun day, and as I say, you had some nice competitive fields, and you wound up with a mix of prices and whatnot. I thought overall a fun day. And again, the La Proviant was the other stake on the card, and Shug took that with personal best. And again, continuing the nice day for Irod Ortiz. So, yeah, it was a really nice day overall, and I think, as I say, looking at the simulcast signal, it was a nice day down there with a big crowd and whatnot. Nice to see. And we will be tuned to the Sirius XM radio show this week for some recaps earlier in the week, and then I guess previews of next week's action as well as the week goes along. And as I say, I am envious.
Well, we'll be here this week for Holy Bull. Then we'll do a couple of days of recap next week, Monday, Tuesday, and then we'll head to Tampa ahead of the Sam Davis. I can't go to the Tampa Bay Derby because we'll be in Vegas for the NHC. So I'll go to Tampa this year for the Sam Davis instead. So 2 more weeks of delicious coverage from South Florida.
Now I'm really envious. You're over on my side of the state coming up. I have not been to Tampa Bay Downs in way too long. I mean, it has to be at least 10 years. I got to get down there. Although there's no Derby Lane for nighttime action.
Well, they're asking for you. Everybody said, "Where's Seth? Where's your man Seth?"
Like I say, I got to get back down there. But appreciate the conversation this morning, Steve. Again, we'll you great job this week, kind of leading into the big weekend, and we'll be listening all week long for recaps and previews coming up next week. Enjoy the time on the beach. We'll talk again.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Talk to you soon.
Oh, right. Yeah, congratulations on a great season there as well. With my Jets, not so much. Yep, very good. All right, Steve, thanks. Appreciate it.
Right. See you.
All right, we're going to head to a commercial break. When we come back, we have a few more stakes to recap. Aqueduct at Toboggan, 3 night stakes at Oaklawn. We'll do a little of that and then hit some news and notes as well as we continue on a Sunday racing across America. Stay tuned.
This is a championship meet. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them. And you get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. And I'm just double checking here because as I do there it is. As I do the recap for the Toboggan yesterday, I just wanted to make sure I had written down the buyer figure correctly. But Dave Brennick had the follow-up article, and I wrote it down correctly. We're going to take a look at the stretch run here to the Toboggan. I like Pirate Rick, the number 2 horse, and Pirate Rick, as expected, was out there kind of winging, was coming off a triple-digit buyer win in the previous start. You know, and I always say you can't, Pirate Rick's the number 2 horse here. So was out there, but fades a little bit. But as you can see, coming late, number 6, Repo Rocks. Finishing second is the number 8, Little Vic. I thought that horse was playable as well. Drafted will get up for third. But Repo Rocks gets it done under Andrew Wolfson. And so this was the first graded stakes win for the horse and for the jockey. Always a lot of fun when a jockey can get it done. Came back into the winner's circle, big smile on his face, as deserved. But as I say, I had to double check the buyer that I had written down on the chart because when I look at Repo Rocks and what he had done prior, the buyer, I wonder if they'll adjust. Well, it was a nice performance. We'll see. But he had a 111 buyer here. And as I said, as we came back from the commercial, I was just pulling up the Dave Grenig article to confirm that. And there it is. Repo Rocks covered the 7 furlongs in 123.42 and earned a huge buyer figure of 111. And it was. His previous high was 99. So this was a big number, good-looking performance. Again, the chart margin was over 8 lengths. Repo Rocks getting it done, and congratulations to jockey Andrew Wolfson on scoring his first graded stakes victory. Nice job there yesterday. All right, again, there was a nice card also. All eyes were focused on those Pegasus stakes down at Gulfstream, but nice card at Oaklawn, 3 stakes races, including the Southwest, which moves the 3-year-old trail along down at Oaklawn. $750,000 up for grabs in the Grade 3. Arabian Night was clearly the horse that was going to take the action. Even money on the morning line. Went off at 2 to 5. Had won convincingly at Keeneland back on Breeders' Cup weekend with a 97 buyer. And yesterday, Arabian Night, the number 6 horse, gets it done again. The chart margin winds up to be 5.5. Again, at 2-5. Red Route 1 for Steve Asmussen winds up second. Frosted Departure third. I like Corona Bolt, 5-2 second choice. That one disappoints, running sixth after a couple of wins going shorter for Brad Cox. But Arabian Night validates, and I haven't seen, and I wonder if I could pull up quickly and see if something has been written. Let me just check here. I didn't see a buyer figure for Arabian Night, but let me just see if I can quickly here via the internet pull up something quickly. And as I say that, the screen freezes, but we'll see. There we go. See if I can come up with perhaps a buyer for Arabian Night. A 96, thanks to the Twitter feed of our friend Randy Moss. A 96 buyer after a 97 in the career debut, so he's put a couple together. But again, the track was listed as sloppy and sealed. It was notable yesterday that Bob Baffert was in town for the victory, and Nancy Holthus interviewed him in the winner's circle afterwards. On board, John Velasquez, also in town. But Arabian Night validates, so far, the purchase price at a 2-year-old sale last April in Ocala, a purchase price of $2.3 million. Big win to break the maiden in debut on Breeders' Cup weekend at Keeneland, again with a 97. Yesterday, steps straight out of a maiden debut victory and into a Grade 3 event, and with a 96, wins very nicely the Southwest. Red Route 1 running second, had run fourth behind Instant Coffee in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Instant Coffee came back to win the stakes race at Fairgrounds last week, so that was flattering. Red Route 1 also a little earlier had been behind Forte, so there were some pretty good company lines. Be interesting to see what that one does going forward. That was the first start as a 3-year-old for Red Route 1, so first couple a little bit interesting. Frosted Departure for Ken McPeak was the most experienced in the field, tied with Western Ghent, but running third, but a well-beaten third, over 7 lengths back, and at 46-1, running third in there for Frosted Departure. I don't know whether it added any luster to what we've seen from that one so far. Had won a little stakes race on New Year's Eve here at Oaklawn, so it looks like that, maybe one of those second-tier kind of 3-year-olds as the season progresses, Frosted Departure. But the top two, a little bit intriguing. Certainly the top, Arabian Night, $2.3 million, now 2 for 2, including a graded stakes victory. So that was the Southwest. And again, a 96 buyer, but a little bit more of a impressive buyer earlier in the King Cotton. King Cotton, a fun early season sprint stake down at Oaklawn, $150,000 up for grabs. They're going to go 6 furlongs, and I like Gunite. Steve Asmussen has had Gunite, has had a string of nice sprinters for the last few years, and Gunite just adds to that. This was the 4-year-old debut after a very nice 3-year-old season. And you can see there the chart margin is 4 lengths as the 3-5 favorite. Tejano Twist, who's a nice stakes quality sprinter, had come in with a 3-race win streak. That one runs second. Miles Ahead runs third. Garhole pushed Gunite early. Garhole was out in front, and Gunite was just off chasing. Garhole fades to be 4th in there. Gunite continues on. The final time, 108.89, but a 104 buyer figure. Pretty solid number there for Gunite. In the Perryville at Keeneland had fired a 106, but the 104 yesterday, the second best buyer on the resume. And again, Steve Asmussen, who's had a slew of really nice sprinters over the past, 4 or 5 years, adds to it with gunite. They're going to head, the game plan, it sounds like at this point, head to Saudi Arabia for the $1.5 million Riyadh Dirt Sprint. That's going to be on February 26th. Over there, they're meters, so they're 1,200 meters. It's about 6 furlongs, but certainly comes out of this and into that, you would think, in good 4-year-old season form, heading overseas to try for a big pot over in Saudi Arabia. And again, that's as they came out of the race yesterday, that was the stated game plan. Again, just about a month away now. And a little bit earlier on the card, it was the Martha Washington. Defining Purpose, I like Defining Purpose. The betting public liked Defining Purpose. Defining Purpose had come out of a New Year's Eve stake here at Oaklawn with a nice win for Ken McPeak. That was the second win in 4 starts, but off of that win at Oaklawn, expected to be the favorite and did go off at even money. Defining Purpose, the number 3 horse. But Olivia Twist was a little bit interesting, being undefeated. Olivia Twist is the 5 horse. Second choice, she disappoints, running 5th. And then I also thought Wet Point for Brad Cox and Godolphin was interesting and playable. Got away to the 3rd choice at 3-1 and gets the job done. Coming up here on the outside, the number 1 horse, Wet Paint, goes by Taxed, who surprised a little bit, running 2nd at 27-1, and then Defining Purpose, the favorite, runs 3rd. So again, a little bit of a disappointment from the undefeated Olivia Twist, and I would say a little bit of a disappointment as well, getting caught there for 2nd for Defining Purpose, but not disappointing at all. Again, the Brad Cox Godolphin runner, Flavian Prat on board. Wet Paint, in only the 4th career start. First start as a 3-year-old, kind of labeled herself as now a 3-year-old filly to kind of keep our eyes on going forward on potentially that Kentucky Oaks Trail moving, as I say, forward here on the year. All right, that gives us a little recap on some stakes action outside of, we started things out, first segment looking at the big Pegasus Day card, and then finished it up here with a little New York action, and certainly a nice day at Oaklawn. Did want to hit on those Oaklawn races because didn't want to see particularly the Southwest kind of float under the radar at all. So we've taken a look at some of the important stakes action from yesterday. We will come back, still have a few minutes left here on the program. We'll come back and give some news and notes, and then we'll wrap it up on a Sunday morning. Stay tuned.
Come on!
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at capitalotb.com.
Welcome back. As promised, some news and notes here. And first up, want to congratulate the bankroll team yesterday, and of course Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy, who was administering the bankroll. We had a Pegasus Day bankroll. 10 folks were randomly selected, and it was a very nice day. Again, congratulations to Kevin Cox. He made a couple of wagers. He made a wager on the Pegasus turf and had some exacta boxes. He had $250 to play, so he spread it kind of evenly between the two. So he had some exacta plays going into the turf, which he hit, but for a nominal amount of money, but collected a little bit there. But knocked it out of the park with a really clever ticket in the Pegasus itself. He had a $1 try, White Abarrio and Art Collector over, White Abarrio, Art Collector, and Defunded overall. So he winds up hitting as Art Collector wins and Defunded runs second, and then the All Button gets a $45 horse underneath. So for the dollar, it was just under $2,400, and with the win in the little exacta win, it was probably over $2,400 for the bankroll team. So everybody on the bankroll team walks away with a nice chunk of money thanks to the Brooklyn Cowboys. So again, congratulations to the team and to Kevin Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy. Nice job there on the bankroll yesterday. And you get a chance to juice up your bankroll today, because don't forget, Rainbow Six at Gulfstream today is a mandatory payout. I believe I read they're expecting maybe $5 million in the pool, which is not a crazy number on a mandatory pay down there. It's going to kick off race 6 about 2:45, 2:45 today. Gulfstream Park, mandatory pay in the Rainbow Six with, again, an expected big, ginormous kind of a pool. So you can take your shot there, and maybe you wind up with a big weekend as well. Mentioned the Eclipse Awards, and I really, because we didn't have a Racing Across America yesterday with the early start at Gulfstream, so I really haven't kind of gone over, and so I'll just kind of quickly hit here the Eclipse Awards. You can obviously find the list at Racing Form, Blood Horse, and whatnot. If you go to the NTRA website, you can actually pull up what I have in front of me, which are the vote totals, which I think are kind of intriguing to look at too. But no surprise on the 2-year-old side of things. Forte, the male, Wonder Wheel, the female. That was a slam dunk. 3-year-old Epicenter was very likely to get it. I was curious to see what the vote totals would be, with Taba pulling in the Malibu at the end of the year to get another grade 1 on the resume. Vote total was actually Epicenter 155, Taba 66. So there was 246 voters, and I'll give you an idea of the slam dunk categories. Forte came up with 243 of those, Wonder Wheel 240. So again, the 3-year-old category was a little more contentious, but there was no threat to Epicenter there. 3-year-old filly, slam dunk with Nest. Older dirt male, Flightline, clearly a slam dunk. Same with the older dirt female, Malathat, a convincing winner. Male sprinter was a little bit interesting. I went with Cody's Wish, but I'm not shocked that Elite Power, the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, got it, and got it pretty convincingly, 108 to 70 for Cody's Wish. Goodnight Olive, slam dunk there on the female sprinter. Modern Games wins the male turf, and does that pretty convincingly, gets 189. Second was Rebels Romance with 50. Female turf, as I said earlier when I was talking to Steve, I used Warlike Goddess, but I kind of thought one of the Chad horses would probably take it, and it wound up being Regal Glory with 96 votes from Chad, in Italian from Chad with 51, and Warlike Goddess with 47. So it was, if I look down at the vote totals, that was probably amongst the top 3, the most contentious. Well, the male sprinter too. Those were the 2 categories that seemed the most up in the air this year. Steeplechase horse Hewick, horse of the year, Flightline. It was kind of funny. Flightline 239. Country Grammar got a vote. Life is Good got a vote. Malathat got a vote, and there were 4 abstentions. So Flightline clearly the winner, but it's almost a little bit of a head scratcher that didn't sweep in there. Country Grammar was really a stretch, I think. Owner was Godolphin. Breeder was Godolphin. Trainer Todd Pletcher. Jockey Irod Ortiz, and apprentice jockey was Jose Gomez, the nice apprentice riding in New York. Again, Jay Pribben wound up with the Special Eclipse Award. Well-deserved there. David Harrison, winning the NHC last year, gets an Eclipse Award as the Horse Player of the Year. And the media awards were listed a few weeks ago, but do want to note again, our friends on the media side, Mike Penna, from the Horse Racing Radio Network. Used to be a regular with us when we had the weekday show, but he wins in audio multimedia. And our friend Tom Law, who we have pretty regularly as part of the Saratoga special team up at Saratoga. Tom Law wins for writing/news enterprise for an article in the Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred. So again, congratulations to all the Eclipse winners. Also noted, we talked a little bit earlier this week about the comeback on Money's Gold down at Gulfstream earlier this week. That one was notable because it had broken the maiden back in June at Monmouth with a 101 buyer. That was the only start for Money's Gold, had been off until a few days ago down at Gulfstream, so it was intriguing to see her return for Todd Pletcher, Irod Ortiz on board. She won pretty easily. The buyer wasn't as flashy. It was an 88, but Todd Pletcher said Money's Gold likely to try some graded stakes company and stretch out. The Devona Dale on March 4th is a possibility, although it sounds like more likely waiting for the any limit on March 18th. But Money's Gold successful in the comeback. Mark Cassie has reaffirmed after Wonder Wheel won the Eclipse the other night that she will take a look at the Suncoast over at Tampa as her first start. That'll be on February 11th. So looking forward to the 4-year-old return of Wonder Wheel. Man, it has been about a week and a half of career milestones for jockeys, and weirdly enough, the same milestone. It was, as I say, about a week and a half ago, a day or maybe at most 2 days apart, Tyler Gaffalione and Junior Alvarado got their 2000th career victory. And just a couple of days ago, Florent Giraud on Thursday wins his 2000th career victory down at the fairgrounds. So again, congratulations to all of those jocks for banging out a career milestone like that. Always notable when you get to those marks. And those are three jockeys that certainly are familiar to all of us up here and have passed through our neck of the woods on numerous occasions. Junior Alvarado obviously being pretty much a New York-based guy for much of the year, but Tyler during the Saratoga meet, and Florent Giraud clearly a rider that visits Saratoga very often as well. So congratulations to all three of them. Again, over the last week and a half, funny to see it all clumped together, but with the same milestone number as well. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for a Sunday morning on Racing Across America. Been a fun Sunday because it was a fun day yesterday, so it was a lot of fun to look back at really nice action. And congratulations to the folks at Gulfstream for putting on a very nice day, and we appreciate, again, their sponsorship of this and some of the other programming here at the network during their championship meet. So thanks again to the folks at Gulfstream, and congratulations on that nice day. And don't forget, today at Gulfstream, mandatory pay in the Rainbow Six. So keep that in mind. We'll be taking a look at some of that action a little bit later on. We'll be back in about an hour or so with OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. I'll have a little Aqueduct to look at, some Gulfstream, and a little bit later on I'll pull some Oaklawn into the mix as well, and we'll have Tampa action. Should be a fun Sunday. It was a fun Saturday. We're going to keep the fun rolling. That's the byword for the weekend, and hopefully you're having fun and continuing to have fun as this day progresses. And fun means cashing some tickets, so we'll see if we can keep that going a little bit later on this afternoon. Again, back in about an hour or so with OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Always appreciate it. We'll see you in a few. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB throughout the championship meet. The Gulfstream Park Championship meet runs now through the early April Florida Derby weekend, featuring high-quality racing throughout. Once again, we'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.